Hello and welcome to another FirstPlay 10 questions, where we swallow industry shrews like an information owl before regurgitating undigested gaming fact for your enjoyment. Writhing in our sharpened beak this week is Hermen Hulst, Managing Director of Guerilla Games and the man behind epic shooter Killzone.
I think in terms of the most influential games for us at Guerilla, probably the first one I'd mention is Half-Life, because of the sheer quality of the implementation of the first-person experience and the variety in there and the storytelling. But probably, if I may mention a second one, that would probably be Uncharted 2, because I think those guys set a new bar for character development and storytelling in general, and that's something that all of us will have to match, or at least we're challenged by it. We're still very much in this era of the, let's call it the casualization of gaming, where innovations like Move come in, and we're seeing some great implementations now, but I think we're still early, and there are still going to be better implementations to come, and this is very difficult, but I think in the area of the interaction between video and voice, in that area there will be, I think, very influential in innovations going forward, but that is still very vague, and it's hard to make that more concrete at this stage. I think for my career here at Guerilla Games, I would say the reception of Killzone 2 with great critical acclaim has been an absolute high point, as was actually initially when we first released Killzone with the attention. It was a big breakthrough for this studio. The lowest point, I think, has been the fact that we really had to rush Shell-Shock NAMM 67 out the door 3 months earlier than we had originally scheduled for, and I think that really harmed the quality of the title. It's really difficult to choose between review scores and sales. I think in the short run, sales is probably more important, but then again, great review scores is a great foundation for success in the longer term. And also, I probably opt for review scores because that's a variable that you can influence more directly as a developer. I would probably pick Miyamoto for my level design team, because he's got such a great innovative mind. I think he would bring a lot of fresh energy to the team. He's never worked on a first-person shooter in a sci-fi setting that's grounded in reality before, so I think that'd be very inspiring for him to work in a traditional genre that he's never worked in. At the end of the day, I think the golden rule for game design is playtest, playtest, playtest. And actually feedback through the forums and just listening to the fan base is incredibly important, and also increasingly important. The devil is in the details.
Don't you ever question me on an open channel again.
If I had not gone into video games, I would like to think I'd be a movie maker, but then again, that's a hard profession to get into. I might have become a philosopher. I'm a philosophy student at the University of Amsterdam. I'm almost finished, and I get a lot of joy out of it. So maybe that would be my second career. I think while somebody's still in school, what I always look at and what I really like when people do it is, pick a good solid education, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a games industry specific education, and have that education, and alongside, it's great if people have some pet projects. If you have somebody that studies, a potential future programmer that studies information science, and he's developed his own game engine, that's so great for our interviewing tech leads to talk to somebody like that. Also, build your portfolio, have something to show, and once you got in, I think the early years, try to do as many different things as possible, so you really get a good feel for the areas that you want to specialize in later. If I was given infinite time, the biggest team in the world, and a bucket load of millions, I would probably make let's say an FPS, MMO, RPG with lots of ninjas, dinosaurs, monsters. Probably that. I think the games industry, in a way, already is part of mainstream culture, and I think that is shown, for instance, by movie makers being heavily influenced by video games and by the way the cameras work and the way the montage is set up. But for video games to truly become part of main culture, I think there's some celebrity power needed.
Thanks, Hermen. Join us again in the future for another 10 questions, next time featuring a far saner analogy. Twit-a-woo!